Okay, so we are going to start out this video with the classwork that I gave you guys last week. So this was your classwork from last week. All right, so again, if you can remember, there were 3 different methods that we could have used. I'm going to show you all 3 methods so that we can become familiar with them. Okay, so the first one would have been horizontal. So with horizontal, that means that you're going to take your first term, in this case an x, and we're going to distribute it in to all 3 of your trinomials. So in this case, we get x cubed. We get 4x squared, and we get negative 6x. How I got these is because I took my x and I multiplied it in x squared. X times x squared gets me x cubed. X times 4x gets me 4x squared. And then x times negative 6 gets me negative 6x. Good. Then we're going to take our second term, and we're going to distribute it in again to my other set of parentheses. This gets us negative 5x squared. We get a negative 20x. And then we get a positive 30. Now, when we have a problem like this, it is a long answer, but you should be able to combine like terms. Notice this x cubed has nothing else it can combine with, so it becomes x cubed. It just stays the x cubed. 4x squared and negative 5x squared can be combined to get me negative x squared. Now, if you can remember, there is a secret or imaginary 1 that we can write there, but if you wanted to leave that off, that's also okay. And then we have negative 6x and negative 20x. We can combine them to get us a negative 26x. And lastly, positive 30 is a constant and cannot be combined, so we can leave this the same, and here's our final answer. Now that is one of the 3 methods, so let's try clearing the screen, and I'll show you the second method. The second method was box method. The box method, the way you can use box method is you create a 2 by 3 box. 2 being because we have a binomial, a 2-piece, by a 3-piece or a trinomial. Here you're going to put x and negative 5. And then up here you're going to put x squared, 4x, and negative 6. Okay, making sure that you keep your signs associated with each piece. And then right now, all you're going to do is multiply into the box what's above and to the side of it. So in this case, we get x cubed. X squared times x gets me x cubed. 4x times x would get me 4x squared. And you would just continue out this pattern. Now, if you did this correctly, you should be able to look at the diagonals, and they be like terms. Notice how the x squared and the x squared are diagonal from each other, and the x are diagonal from each other. Now, all you're going to do is combine the terms, adding in the middle. So x cubed does not combine with anything, so we can just write x cubed. Here we have 4x squared and negative 5x squared combines to negative x squared. Again, imaginary 1 if you want to write it. Negative 6 and negative 20 combine to get you negative 26x. And then lastly, we have a 30 over here that cannot be combined. And there is our final answer. And there is one last method I'd like to show you guys. And that is called vertical. with vertical, you're always going to write your longest term first. So it's kind of like saying x squared plus 4x minus 6 goes on top. And then your smaller term, or binomial, is going to go on the bottom. Now, if you can remember, side note, if you can remember something like this, when you had to do long multiplication, where you had to do, you always started with the 2 and you multiplied it up here. We're going to do something similar to that. So in this case, we're going to multiply 5 first by everything. So 5 times negative 6, 5 times 4x, and 5 times x squared. So when we do this, negative 5 times negative 6 gets me a positive 30. Negative 5 times 4x would get me a positive, it would get me negative 20x. And then this would get me a negative 5x squared. And then if you can remember when we did something like this, we always had to hold a placeholder. We kind of put a 0 there, or you put a dash there. Now we're going to do something similar to that. We're going to put a dash or a 0 right here. And then you're going to multiply everything above your x. So we're going to multiply x by negative 6, x by 4x, and x by x squared. So in this case, we get negative 6x because we did x times negative 6. Then you're going to do x times 4x, which gets me 4x squared. And then lastly, x cubed because we did x times x squared. Okay, now we're going to we're just going to add above or below, just kind of similar to what we would do here. Okay, we would have just added above and below, so you would have gotten okay, similar to that, we will also do something like that over here. So we'll do x cubed, combining these two pieces, which get me negative x squared. Here, negative 26x, and then here, 30. And there is our final answer. Okay, so for the remaining of the problems, we are just going to pick one method. I'm going to pick one method, but you can always solve other ways and make sure that you get the same answer as me. So for this method, I'm going to use horizontal. I'll start with my first term, and I'm going to distribute it in. This would get me negative 8x cubed, negative 20x squared, and 6x. And then here, distributing it in by negative 5. This would get me a positive 20x squared, a positive 50x, and a negative 15. Now, we combine like terms. Negative 8x cubed cannot be combined, so we leave it as negative 8x cubed. X squareds can be combined. Now notice, negative 20 and positive 20 would get me 0. I'm going to write 0x squared, but you could always just drop this if you didn't want to write it. And then in this case, we combine our x's and we get 56x. And then lastly, negative 15 does not combine. Now, for problems like this, okay, x plus 3 cubed, I would hope that I have taught you well enough to know that you should not be distributing in the cubed and should not be getting x cubed plus 27. That does not happen. You can't do that. But what you can do in this case, it's the same thing as saying, let me change my pen color. It's the same thing as saying, let's write it 3 times. Let's write it x plus 3, x plus 3, and x plus 3. So if we only look at this side of the screen, okay, ignoring the x plus 3 for right now, this binomial times binomial, we know how to solve these. We know how to use FOIL, okay? So for FOIL, we're going to do first, outer, inner, and then last, getting us x squared plus 3x plus 3x, and then plus 9. We can combine the middles to get us an x squared plus 6x plus 9. That is only to solve these two. We still have to multiply in a third one, so we then have to look at multiplying these two pieces together. And I'm going to use box method for this one. So box method will tell us that we need to use a 2 by 3 box. 2 terms because it's right here, x plus 3. And then 3 terms because we have x squared, 6x, and 9. X squared times x gets me x cubed. 6x squared times x gets me 6x squared. 9 times x gets me 9x. X squared times 3 gets me 3x squared, and we can keep moving from there. No x here, just 9. Oh, not even 9. Oof, my bad. It should be 27. If we did this correctly, we should be able to look diagonal, and they'd be like terms. So our answer should be x cubed. Then we add these two together, which gets you 9x squared. Here getting us 27x, and then lastly 27 cannot be combined. And there's our final answer. Okay, so for this method, I'm going to again use the horizontal method. For horizontal method, I'm going to multiply in each piece individually. Now 3x to the 4th power does not have anything combined with, so we can just rewrite it. Our x cubes can be combined to get us 13x cubed. I feel like I made a mistake here. Let's check it. 21 would have been right here, which got us an x. You're right. No, that's not right. Okay, so ignore this. Here, 4x squared cannot be combined with anything, so we can just write 4x squared. Okay, now x can also not be combined, so we can rewrite it this way. And then let's give this a big old heart. -7 cannot be combined with anything, so here's our final answer. Now I do want to show this problem out using box method because I think that we might enter into a problem here if you use box method. So let's show you how to do this in box method as well. Notice how we have an x cubed, an x squared, and we have a constant. Notice we're missing a piece here. If we were to write this in standard form, making sure that we do not exclude our plain old x to the first power, we would actually be writing it this way. Because there's no x, it's technically a secret little one right here that says 0x. And you need to make sure that you look at that. Why? Because the box method won't actually work if you don't have every piece. Now, if we were to do box method, I would have to do a 2-piece by a 4-piece, including that 0x. Okay, so we have 3x and 1, x cubed, 4x squared, 0x, and negative 7. And then we simply just fill in these boxes. Now, because we did this correctly, when we look diagonal, you have all the like terms. If you didn't include that 0x, you're going to come into a problem because when you look diagonal, you're not going to have like terms. Now that we have like terms, we can simply just combine. So in this case, we get 3x to the 4th power, 13x cubed, plus 7x squared, negative 21x, and negative 7. And that is our final answer. Okay. This is the last one. Oh, no, not the last one. Second to last one that we're going to do. For this method, I will do the vertical method. For anyone who likes the vertical method, you can see how it's done again. So again, 3 pieces are going to be on top. And then the binomial will be underneath. We're just going to look at the 3 and we're going to multiply the 3 by everything above it. So in this case, we get plus 18. 3 times negative 4x would get you negative 12x. And then 3 times x squared, which gets me 3x squared. And now that we've noticed the 3, we're now going to look at the x. We're going to put a little placeholder there. And then multiply the x by everything above it. So that gets me 6x, negative 4x squared, and x cubed. Now we should be able to add these because vertically we have like terms. When we combine these, we get x cubed. Here, I'll put it over here. X cubed, negative x squared, negative 6x, and then a positive 18. And that is our final answer. Okay, our last one in this video. And I'm going to do box method again because I actually prefer box method over the other methods. And then making sure that we fill in these boxes appropriately. Now, the only way that I can know that I definitely did this correctly is noticing that when we do diagonals, we have like terms here. And that is our final answer.